My next guest says he sees a fascist movement on the rise in the United States. He cites examples like this moment at the RNC the other day, when President Trump encouraged his followers to chant 12 more years. Of course, Trump will always say he was joking, but pair that with headlines like this: Trump continuing to dodge questions about whether he will accept the results of the election this November. So, let's talk about that other F word, the one that doesn't get talked about enough. Jason Stanley is a professor of philosophy at Yale University. He's the author of How Fascism Works, The Politics of Us and Them. Jason, I think we should start with, the first day of class, right? The definition of fascism.
Fascism is a cult of the leader who promises national restoration in the face of supposed humiliation by immigrants, minorities, and leftist radicals. The fascist leader creates panic and fear about a takeover by Marxists and leftists and presents himself as the only solution.
You've been talking about this for years, of course. You wrote your book a couple of years ago. And I think only recently I've started to see you break through in the media, in national interviews. Do you think the press has been tiptoeing around this for too long and is just finally waking up to a fascist movement in America?
Absolutely. The press is just enthralled to what we're all enthralled of. America is a special country. We represent democracy. What happens in every other country surely couldn't happen here, but it can.
And how far down the road do you say it is happening?
Well, we don't have a fascist regime, but arguably, Trumpism is something akin to a fascist social and political movement, and at the very least, we have massive use of fascist tactics. We've got militias roaming the streets. We have one of our political parties turning into a cult of the leader. The RNC platform was just whatever Trump wants. That's an extremely worrisome sign.
So I'm going to say to you, let's prove it. I want you to prove it. Show us rather than tell. In your book, you have 10 pillars of fascist politics. Let's put the first 5 on screen if we can. And let's go through these one by one and tell me how you think these are being shown right now. The first is a mythic past, appeal to the make America great again because it's not great anymore. Number 2, propaganda. Number 3, anti-intellectualism. Did you see these on display at the RNC?
Absolutely. In Mein Kampf, Hitler talks about Germany being humiliated, the empire's been lost, there are foreigners everywhere, the liberals are taking over. Here we have Confederate monuments are under attack. Our history is under attack. We're supposed to be ashamed of our history. We must restore our history in the face of this attack. So that's the mythic past. He's going to restore our glorious past. Meaning the sort of white nationalist past.
But of course, you just said Hitler. That's a way to shut down a conversation. People are going to say, come on, stop it, Jason.
I'm talking about the propaganda and the messaging, not the policies. We don't have a genocidal regime by any means. But these are tactics used across the board by authoritarians who don't intend genocide or anything like Hitler. So there isn't a comparison here between what Trump is doing and his policies. Just in the propaganda he's exploiting, as we'll see.
Let's keep going through the pillars here. Number 4 is unreality. Number 5 is hierarchy. What do you mean by unreality?
Unreality is conspiracy theory. So we had the Protocols of the Elders of Zion. A shadowy group of elites is trying to bring communism to the country. They're in cahoots with the media and the bankers. And what we have now is QAnon, which is much the same function. Manhattan elites and Hollywood moguls are destroying the country, the deep state. We need a strong leader to protect us. And behind that, we have the threat to our children of pedophilia and sex rings. So this is the kind of conspiracy theory thinking that destroys an information space.
Let's go to the next pillars. Victimhood. We see a lot of conservative victimhood rhetoric in right-wing media. Law and order. Well, that's the president's favorite thing to tweet right now. Sexual anxiety, Sodom and Gomorrah. And tell us about the 10th pillar.
Arbeit macht frei. Work shall make you free. So the idea here is social Darwinism. The idea is that, only the fit survive. Winning is the only thing that matters. Hitler's book is called My Struggle, Mein Kampf. The idea is one group has emerged in struggle victorious. We can get rid of the weak. We don't need them. A pandemic is something that's just going to clear the weak. They have to be sacrificed for the strength of the nation.
But no one's literally saying that. Are you talking about what the subtext of the rhetoric is?
The subtext of the rhetoric, why do we have to, the economy becomes more important than the lives of the vulnerable. So what we have in these Liberate America, Free America rallies is we have people calling for, we have to return, we have to sacrifice people to the strength of the economy. So we also have this winning rhetoric. Winning matters more than anything. In a liberal democracy, winning is not the primary thing. Equal respect and dignity for all our fellow citizens is.
What I hear from pro-Trump media is that the left is fascist. Look at Seattle, they say. They're trying to shut down freedom of speech and terrorize your families with mobs. What are they misusing the word? How do you react to that rhetoric?
So fascism, the propaganda, as I say in the propaganda chapter, fascists always call their opponents what they are. So their opponents are nepotistic, their opponents are corrupt, their opponents are the fascists. So this is classic. They're going to come and they're going to police college campuses and police speech to make sure there's free speech. Well, if you're policing speech, that's not free speech. When you're attacking the media, that's not free speech.
And finally, what do you want the press to do differently between now and Election Day?
I want the press not to normalize. I want the press to call out when laws are being violated, to be clear about how, for instance, about the statistics about violent crime. We have very low violent crime in the United States today, historically, especially compared to our unemployment rates. So I want the press not to normalize and not to consistently do both siderism, but to call the facts as they are.
Professor, thank you very much.